Hi, I'm Jonathan Eshnaur, NEA-Salina president, and I'm here with Michele, our lead negotiator for NEA-Salina. And we just wanted to give you an update about negotiations as we approach. But first off, there's a couple things that have changed. Michele, would you kind of give us an outline of what's changed with the Professional Negotiations Act that recently changed last session?
Right, the legislature changed how we negotiate a little bit, and it's definitely changed how we write our letter, which is a letter that we send to the district on, they changed the date. It went from January 31st to April 31st.
Right.
March 31st? April 31st.
March 31st.
March 31st. And that's kind of nice because we have a little bit better idea of what the legislators are doing at that time. And the other thing it did is it changed the way we write letters.
So what are some of the changes of what we can put into our letter?
Well, the letter has three parts now, and the first part is mandatory negotiated 2 items that every letter in the state has, and that is compensation and then hours and amount of work. And then the next section is a mandatory items that they have to talk to us about. They don't have to agree with us, but they do have to speak with us about it, and we have 3 things that we can put in that section. And so then there is a permissive items section of the letter, which we can put in the letter and we can make known to them and talk to them about it, but they don't necessarily have to discuss it back with us. So we have to look at all of our issues that we want to talk about, and we really need to prioritize those as to what you, as our bargaining unit, would want us to have in the mandatory section and the permissive section.
And so, if you remember last fall, winter time, we sent out a survey where we asked all the teachers that were in the district to provide us some feedback information. And so, Michele, based on that information from those surveys, what were we able to get and put into our letter this year?
Okay, and we did get about 92 responses, so we thank those people for helping us because we really do take that seriously, and we go through and we see what you have to say, and then we put it into this letter. And so the first part is the compensation and the hours and amount of work. So under compensation, what we have in our letter is that obviously we want to make sure that we attract teachers and we keep teachers. And to do that, we talk about salary. That's always in our letter. We also had heard what you had to say, and we have an issue on, we want to speak about horizontal placement for master's degrees that require many more hours than a normal master's degree. Substitute teacher pay for all teachers that substitute on their plan periods. Required meetings outside of the duty day, because we always want you to get paid when you deserve to be paid. Special salary provisions. There's a section in the contract for people that have classes but spend a lot more time outside of the duty day in those classes, and there's some that have not been changed for many, many, many years. So we want to look at that. Guidelines for supplementary pay for athletic events. There is a difference in what a middle school teacher gets paid for athletic events and a high school teacher, and your time is worth the same amount of money, so we want to talk about that. Excessive meeting time and compensation provision for special ed teachers. We've had this in the letter before, and we've just not seen movement, so we're going to try to talk about that again. And then longevity pay. We also have in the contract, and a lot of teachers don't know this, but there is a early notification incentive. If you are going to move out of the district and you let the district know early, you get $305 extra, and we're looking at that amount. Also, we're going to look at the salary schedule and make sure that that is designed in a way that is fair to all teachers. And so we might want to look at that and redesign it.
So the second area would then be hours and amount of work. So what were some of those other mandatory items that we wanted to look at under hours and amount of work?
Well, the first one is the contract year and protecting our holidays. We have holidays that are protected in the contract, and we want to make sure they are protected and stay protected. The other thing is duty day and plan time, and this is always an issue, and we want to make equity as much as possible for all teachers, as much as we can get. And then the last one is we heard loud and clear about staff development days, and we had some good suggestions. And one suggestion was that we possibly have smaller groups that can get those additional days at the end or the beginning of the school year, but not an entire staff. So to use those staff development days effectively and efficiently, I guess.
All right, so that brings us to our mandatory items. So mandatory items would be what the district has to at least have a conversation and negotiate with us. So what are some of those areas in the mandatory items of the letter?
Well, we only got 3, and we want to make sure those count. And so the first one was something that a lot of you talk about, and that's leave policies. And the first one is compensation for days of unused accumulated leave. There's a lot of districts that have different ways of doing that, and we want to look and see if maybe it can be changed a little bit. Illness and disability pool, we want to strengthen that and make some language changes that serves you better. And then discretionary leaves, policy and language change. That's the first one. Those are all under number 1, leaves. The second one is something that we need to put in there to protect everybody that has health insurance in the district, and that just says if it goes up, and it's always in there every year, and that if it goes up more than 10%, because we don't know until the beginning of the year, so it's hard to negotiate right now. So at the beginning of the year, if it goes up more than 10%, then we come back to negotiations and talk about that. And the last one is transfers. We want to make sure we have some language in there that protects teachers and helps them to make decisions that are best for themselves and their students. And those were the 3 mandatory items.
All right, so the last section of the letter is those permissive items. So these are items that we would like to talk about, but the school board is not required to negotiate these items. So what are some of those permissive items that NEA-Salina would like to look at?
Okay, some of the reasoning we had behind this is we put things in here that we know that they're going to want to talk about. For instance, there's some minor wording changes and clarification throughout the contract that we found that we feel that they're going to be okay with, and we'll just change. So of course we're going to put that under permissive because they're going to be willing. In Article 3, there's relocation expenses, and we've got that in there for some clarification as to what that exactly is. In Article 4, there's professional appraisal, because we both agree, they agree, and we agree. We have a committee on professional appraisal, and they tell the district and the board what they would like us to do, and we usually have agreed before we come to the table. So that was an easy one for permissive. And then discipline and probation, we worked on this and did a great job getting us back our due process last year. And we just had some minor language changes that we were trying to shore that up a little bit, I guess. And then the last one is association business, and we said a strong professional education association provides for a positive, empowered working environment for educators, and we want to make sure that we meet the second Wednesday of every month. Is that?
Yeah, just try to get our protected time for our building rep meetings, and then also look at maybe some possible time that those building reps could come back and share with the buildings what they learned at those building rep meetings. So just looking at, how can we best serve our educators that are a part of NEA-Salina.
Because a lot of our NEA teachers are very involved in the district, and so they're trying to be mentors and other things that are on those days, and we want to make sure that they have the freedom to come to our meetings so that they can talk to you about the things we talk about.
All right, so then we requested a lot of information that was recommended to us, and we'll take some time to get that from the board office and process through that, which will help us with the negotiations. The board did send us a letter. Michele, do you mind just kind of highlighting a few of the things that they talked about in the letter from the school board?
Right. When we send them a letter at that same moment, actually, our president exchanges letters, and so we get their letter, they get our letter, and so their letter, of course, they have the two required things, so that was compensation and duty days and hours of work, and they said they definitely would talk to us about that, and that's by law. And then the other thing they had on there was the professional appraisal, because it's something we've agreed to, and really on their letter, that's all we had. So.
Right.
Short list on their part.
Short list on their part. So what will be the process that happens next? Right now we're kind of waiting for the legislature to finish up their session. They will go back April 27th. So that will hopefully start the wrap-up session for them. And we hope to have a rally before our negotiations. So please stay tuned to your email. We're going to have some food and some fun activities for you to participate. So stay tuned to your email. No date yet for negotiations, but we hope to have that to you very soon. Thank you, Michele, for your time. I appreciate it. And if you have any questions, feel free to send us an email.
Yes. Any questions or suggestions? And all teachers, family, anybody can come to negotiations in the rally. You are invited.
Thank you so much for taking some time to view this video, and have a great rest of your day.